Hello, welcome to the video from OMG Revision. This is Year 7 Half Term 6 and we're looking at the topic called Focus on Africa. So Africa is located here on the world map, to the south of Europe, to the east of North and South America and to the west of Oceania, and it's surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean here, the Indian Ocean to the east and the Southern Ocean to the south. Now, Africa is a really big continent. It's the second biggest continent in the world. And if we look at some of these countries that can actually fit inside of Africa, you get a bit of an idea on how big it is and the sense of place and space that it covers. Now, a lot of people make the misconception that Africa's a country. It's not. There are 54 countries in the continent of Africa. Now, the largest country is Algeria, way up there in the north. Okay? Where the country with the largest population is Nigeria there in Western Africa. The country with the highest GNI per capita, which is gross national income per person or income per person, is the Seychelles. Now, a lot of people think Africa is super poor, and in a lot of places it is, but there are massive contrasts in Africa. Okay, so some parts of Africa have got a lot more disposable income now than they ever have before, and this is because of industrialisation. However, there are still many people living in poverty, and by poverty we mean on less than $1.90 a day, which, depending on the exchange rate, is about £1.50 a day. Really low amount of money. Same thing can be said about population. Now, in cities such as Nigeria's largest city, Lagos, okay, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people per square kilometre. It's got high population density. Whereas in the desert, the hot Sahara Desert, such as places like Namibia, it's got a population density of 3 people per square kilometre. So dense contrasted with sparse. Now, what are the environmental characteristics or the biomes? We've looked at biomes numerous times in geography, and they tend to form these horizontal bands across the world along lines of latitude. And a biome is basically a large-scale ecosystem where the vegetation is all very similar or the same. Now, major biomes in Africa, we've got the Mediterranean biome in the north, followed by hot desert, that's the Sahara Desert. We've got savanna, grasslands, and we've got tropical rainforest. So if we have a look at the Mediterranean biome, 2 distinct seasons, a summer and winter. The summers are incredibly dry. However, during the winter, it's a bit more unsettled and you can get periods of heavy precipitation or rainfall. Further south, we have got hot deserts, and these are characterised by very high temperatures all year round and very, very little precipitation. Moving further south, there is more rainfall here, hence the growth of the grass in the grasslands, and we also find more trees such as the baobab and acacia tree. And then the final major biome is the tropical rainforest. Now, tropical rainforest is the most biodiverse biome on the planet, which means there's a wide range of plants and animals. Now, if we look at this image here, this is Mount Kilimanjaro, and it is the tallest mountain in Africa at nearly 6,000 kilometres. And on this one mountain, there are several different biomes. So at the base of the mountain, you've got cultivated land, basically land that people farm on. If we move further up the mountain, we've got tropical rainforest, so a completely different biome. Further up still, we have got moorland or grasslands. Further towards the peak, we have got desert. And finally, at the summit, the very top, we've actually got glaciers and ice, so it would be like the polar biome, although it's not in the North or South Pole. And this infographic is brilliant way of presenting data. What this does is it shows Kilimanjaro and the height of Kilimanjaro, and it's also got these symbols that lead to the image. So if you want to find out what the vegetation is like there, you have to look at the green square, triangle, circle, and that's a diamond, in the square, and look at the images. So this is complex data presentation. It's visually clear and it shows a wide range of information for you. Now, history of Africa. If you ask anybody about the history of Africa, chances are they're going to talk to you about colonisation and trade. Now, colonisation was basically when, late in the 19th century, European countries, which you can't see on here, decided that they wanted certain parts of Africa for their own benefit, and it was usually to do with what minerals and raw materials were under the ground, such as gold or diamonds, and they literally carved up Africa. However, during the 20th century, during the 1900s, many of these countries fought for their independence, and after years of civil war, they gained their independence. However, Africa still trades in a lot of important goods, for example, tobacco, gold and spices. During the colonial rule, people were treated very badly and dehumanised, forced to work, but gladly things have improved, and post-colonialism, the biggest trading partner of Africa is actually the European Union, and specific countries are also super important. So, for example, Nigeria provides nearly 3% of all the oil in the whole world. That's massive. Sahara Desert. So, Sahara Desert is the name of this hot desert here. It's a huge biome, and as you can see, it takes up a large amount of the continent of Africa. The trouble is, life in the desert is very hard and it's an extreme environment. It's sparsely populated for these reasons. Only 2 to 10 centimetres of rain, that's per year, very low precipitation. High temperatures, pretty much 37 degrees in the summer and 27 degrees is its coldest. Now if it's 27 degrees in the UK, people are having meltdowns, okay? And that's the coldest it gets in the desert. And there's also high winds that create sandstorms. Alright, if we look at this climate graph of Timbuktu, which is in Mali, we can see the line, which represents temperature, is way high. Okay, always above 20 degrees Celsius. However, if we look at the precipitation, January, February, March, November, December, no rainfall whatsoever. And the peak rainfall comes in August, and that's just over about 74 millimetres. Really low rainfall. Now, people of the desert, sorry, desert's been cut off the bottom, people do still live in the desert. Before I talk about them, I'm going to talk about these key words. So, first of all, oasis, that's a place in the desert where water can be found. Traditional societies, these are groups of people who have lived in a place for a very long time, passing down knowledge and customs through many generations. So if you think about tribes and indigenous people, now we've got nomads who literally move from day to day, they don't stay put, they're nomadic. But we've also started to get semi-nomadic people, and they may stay in an area for around a year whilst they grow crops, and then they will move on next year for fertile soils. And a group of people in the Sahara Desert are the Bedouin people. Now the Bedouin people are nomadic Arab people, okay, and they are known for being very kind and taking a very chilled out approach to life, not letting things get to them. However, in more modern times, they've started organising camel racing. Some of the younger kids have now got mobile phones and they're starting to integrate more in society. Another interesting fact is they have the sweetest tea in the world. They put about 10 sugars in it, but because of the amount of sweating that they probably do in the hot desert, they need those sugars to replace vital minerals that they've lost. Next key term is desertification. Now, desertification is basically when land becomes desert, so it's as if the desert is growing, and there are several causes. Firstly, and the main cause is when vegetation is destroyed. When vegetation is destroyed, the roots will also die, and the roots are needed to bind and hold the soil together. And as a result of this, future vegetation can't grow as well, and neither can crops. So people are not going to want to grow the crops here if they can help it. And this further leads to the soil being loose and blown away, and over time it will become a desert. So causes of desertification are deforestation, effects, cutting down trees, which leaves the soil unprotected, and the responses, which we're going to look at in a moment, is afforestation, which means planting the trees back. And the example we can use is the Great Green Wall of Africa. Now, the Great Green Wall of Africa is going to be 15 kilometres deep, all right? And it's going to spread the whole width of Africa, going through 11 different countries. And it will act as a carbon sink. So it will store carbon dioxide when the plants photosynthesize, and as a result there'll be less carbon in the atmosphere. Also, it's going to provide a natural habitat for animals, which is always a good idea, and it will create shade for the ground below it. And this is important to keep the ground cool, but also if the ground's wet, because it's in the shade, it won't evaporate and dry out so quickly. Now, a specific country we're going to learn a lot about in this topic is Nigeria, and it's a newly emerging economy. That means it is developing at a quick rate, so I think it's getting richer, life expectancies increasing, education and literacy rates are going up. Now, this is where it is located. It's surrounded by Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and it's got a coast on the Atlantic Ocean. And again, it's a country of contrast. So if we look at this photograph of Lagos, the largest city in Nigeria, it looks very modern, very high tech. It's got good quality infrastructure, high office blocks, looks really well developed. But turn around and take a photograph of another high street, and we can see traffic congestion, which would lead to high levels of air pollution and frustration. And this shows that not the whole of Africa is the same. There are contrasts. And there's lots of opportunities and challenges in Africa, in Nigeria. And these can be demonstrated by one company. And this is a transnational corporation, which is a company that operates in more than one country. And the one we're going to look at is Shell. Now, they bring social opportunities. Because Shell are digging out oil and investing in infrastructure, there's now more reliable energy in Nigeria. However, oil spills contaminate water. Now, if you drink that water, you will be very, very poorly, and that's a huge social challenge. Economic opportunities are jobs. Shell has created 65,000 jobs in Nigeria. Okay, and a further 250,000 jobs in the supply chain. So that's over 300,000 jobs just because of Shell. That's a massive opportunity. But due to Shell not maintaining their oil supplies and oil pipelines, a lot of oil is stolen. And this means that this oil is not taxed, so the government don't make money. So that's a big economic challenge. Environmental opportunity is the tax generated from Shell operating there can be invested in infrastructure, so wider roads and public transport projects. So this will reduce traffic congestion and air pollution. However, an environmental challenge is gas flaring. When you extract oil from the ground, natural gas comes out with it. Sadly, it's not economically viable. It's too expensive for Shell to use this gas and sell it on. So they quite literally just burn it, and these are gas flares, and that is going to create air pollution, a massive environmental challenge. Now, homework. 3 tasks to choose from. Task 1, you can create a fact file for an African country of your choice. Doesn't have to be Nigeria, can be any country at all. Task 2, draw a sketch of the plants and animals in the Sahara Desert and explain how they have adapted to the conditions. So you could add annotations, explaining labels to your diagrams. And finally, task 3, research the country of Nigeria. Where is it? What is its population? Why is it regionally and internationally important?